Have you ever heard of a drink so powerful it was called the nectar of immortality? A potion said to grant divine powers, visions, and even regenerate the very essence of life. This isn't a fantasy novel. This is the story of Soma, the most enigmatic and revered drink in ancient Indian history, described in the thousand-year-old hymns of the Rig Veda. What was this mysterious elixir? Was it just a myth, or did our ancestors discover a profound secret of nature? Today, we're journeying back in time to uncover the truth behind the legendary Soma potion. The Rig Veda, one of the oldest sacred texts in the world, is filled with over 100 hymns dedicated entirely to Soma. It wasn't just a drink, it was personified as a god, a deity of inspiration, ecstasy, and cosmic power. The hymns describe it in glowing terms. It was honey-hued, swift as a hawk, and a divine drop that purifies the drinker. Those who consumed Soma were said to feel invincible, their minds expanding to touch the heavens. Poets received unparalleled inspiration. Warriors felt immense courage, and priests believed they could communicate directly with the gods. It was considered the ultimate offering, a bridge between the mortal world and the divine realm. The texts tell us that the god Indra, king of the heavens, drank Soma to gain the strength to slay the cosmic serpent Vritra, bringing order to the universe. Soma was the fuel of the gods, and by drinking it, humans could partake in their divine nature. The descriptions are so vivid and consistent that they strongly suggest Soma was a real, tangible substance with powerful effects on the human mind and body. The question that has puzzled scholars for centuries is, what plant or combination of plants could produce such an experience? The search for the original Soma plant is one of the greatest botanical mysteries of all time. The Vedic texts are poetically descriptive but maddeningly vague about its identity. They tell us it grew on mountains, a clue that has sent researchers searching from the Himalayas to the Hindu Kush. The plant was said to have a stalk but no leaves, and it was pressed between stones to extract its golden amber juice. This juice was then mixed with milk, honey, or barley, and filtered through wool to create the final potion. For a long time, scholars believed it might be a type of vine, like Sarcostemma acridum, but its effects didn't quite match the ecstatic descriptions. Then, in the 1960s, a new theory emerged that changed everything. The American ethnomycologist R. Gordon Wasson proposed a radical idea, that the original Soma was not a plant at all, but a fungus, specifically the psychoactive mushroom Amanita muscaria. Let's look at the evidence. The Amanita muscaria, with its iconic red cap and white spots, is a powerful hallucinogenic mushroom found in mountainous, forested regions across the northern hemisphere. The Vedic texts describe Soma as having no leaves or roots, which fits a mushroom perfectly. The hymns also mention that the drink was sometimes filtered through wool, a process which Wasson argued could have been used to reduce the mushroom's less desirable side effects while preserving its psychoactive compounds. Furthermore, ancient Siberian shamanic traditions, which have cultural links to the Indo-Aryan people, used Amanita muscaria in their rituals. One of the most compelling and perhaps strangest pieces of evidence is the concept of a second-hand high. The main psychoactive compounds in Amanita muscaria pass through the body largely unmetabolized. This means that the urine of someone who has consumed the mushroom is still potently psychoactive. Bizarrely, the Vedas contain passages that some scholars interpret as alluding to the ritual drinking of urine from a person who had consumed Soma. This detail, though odd to our modern sensibilities, provides a strong link between Soma and the known pharmacology of the Amanita muscaria mushroom. Of course, the mushroom theory isn't without its challengers. Other candidates have been proposed, from the Syrian rue plant, known for its powerful psychoactive alkaloids, to ephedra, a stimulant plant also found in the mountainous regions of Central Asia. The ancient Persian text, the Avesta, speaks of a similar divine drink called haoma. Many scholars believe soma and hauma are two different names for the same substance, and linguistic evidence points towards ephedra being the primary ingredient in the Persian tradition. It's entirely possible that soma was not a single plant, but a general term for a variety of psychoactive concoctions. Perhaps the original soma plant became scarce as the Indo-Aryan peoples migrated, and they began substituting it with other local psychoactive plants, each region developing its own unique recipe for reaching the divine. The secret of soma may not be a single plant, but a lost knowledge of sacred plant medicine and complex herbal combinations. This brings us to one of the most incredible claims about soma, its potential for physical healing and even regeneration. The Vedas don't just describe a mental high, they call it amrita, the drink of immortality, and a healer of all diseases. This sounds like mythological hyperbole, but what if there's a kernel of scientific truth to it? Modern science is just beginning to rediscover the incredible therapeutic potential of psychoactive compounds, particularly those found in fungi. For instance, psilocybin, the active compound in magic mushrooms, has shown remarkable success in clinical trials for treating depression, anxiety, and PTSD. But what about physical regeneration? Here's where things get really fascinating. Recent scientific studies on certain fungi and herbal extracts have revealed astonishing properties. Some compounds have been shown to have powerful antioxidant and anti-inflammatory effects, which are key to cellular health. More astoundingly, certain compounds are being investigated for their ability to stimulate neurogenesis, the growth of new brain cells. While immortality is likely a poetic exaggeration, the idea that a powerful blend of herbs and fungi could promote profound healing, extend vitality, and even repair cellular damage isn't as far-fetched as it once seemed. Could the Vedic priests have stumbled upon a combination of natural substances that had a genuine, measurable regenerative effect on the human body, perhaps even at a DNA level? We are only now, with our advanced technology, starting to explore concepts like DNA repair and cellular regeneration that our ancestors may have intuitively understood through their deep connection with the natural world. So, what happened to soma? Why did this divine drink, so central to Vedic culture, disappear from history? The most likely theory is that as the climate changed and migration patterns shifted, the original ingredients became impossible to find. The exact knowledge of its preparation, a closely guarded secret of the priestly class, was likely lost over generations. The rituals continued, but symbolic substitutes like milk or other non-psychoactive plants were used instead. Soma became a memory, a metaphor for divine grace rather than a tangible substance. The elixir of immortality faded into legend. Yet, the legacy of soma endures. It represents humanity's eternal quest for transcendence, for connection to something larger than ourselves. It reminds us that the ancient world was not a primitive place, but a world rich with profound knowledge of nature's secrets, some of which we are only now beginning to rediscover. The story of soma is a powerful reminder that the earth itself holds medicines and mysteries we have yet to fully comprehend. Perhaps the true nectar of immortality isn't a single magic potion, but the endless wisdom and healing power that nature offers if we only have the eyes to see it. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. What do you think soma was? A mushroom, a plant, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. If you enjoyed this exploration of ancient mysteries, please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into history, science, and the unknown. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure. Until next time, stay curious. Imagine walking through the dense, humid jungles of Central America. The year is 2005. Archaeologists are carefully excavating a Mayan royal tomb, a place untouched for over 1,000 years. Deep within this sacred chamber, amidst priceless jade and intricate pottery, they discover something small, almost overlooked, a tiny, unassuming vial. What secrets could this little vessel hold? Little did they know, it contained the recipe for a potion so potent it could blur the very line between life and death. This wasn't just any old container. This was a clue, a chemical fingerprint left behind by one of history's most fascinating civilizations. Inside this vial, scientists would later identify a bizarre and powerful cocktail of ingredients. The analysis revealed traces of plants from the nightshade family, known for their potent psychoactive and paralytic properties. But that wasn't all. They also found something even more exotic: toxins from the skin of a specific type of frog. A jungle frog potion mixed with a flower of the night. This wasn't a medicine, and it wasn't a simple poison. It was something else entirely. The researchers were baffled. Why would the Maya combine these specific substances? The answer lies in the incredible chemical synergy between them. The nightshade would induce a deep, trance-like state, slowing the heart rate and breathing to an almost imperceptible level. The frog toxin, on the other hand, would cause profound muscle paralysis. The combined effect? A state of suspended animation, a death-like paralysis that could last for hours, even days. The person would appear completely lifeless, yet their mind could be journeying through otherworldly realms. They weren't dead, just gone. This was the Mayan potion of eternal sleep. But what was its purpose? Was it a tool for ritual sacrifice, a way to send victims to the underworld without struggle? The setting, a royal tomb, suggests a connection to death rituals. The ancient Maya believed the journey to the afterlife, known as Xibalba, was a perilous one. Perhaps this potion was administered to individuals chosen to accompany their deceased king or queen. It would ensure a peaceful transition, sending them into a deep slumber from which they would never awaken, their bodies still and lifeless as they were entombed alongside their ruler. It's a chilling thought, isn't it? A chemically induced journey to the other side. However, there's another fascinating theory, one that shifts from sacrifice to shamanism. Mayan shamans were the intermediaries between the physical and spiritual worlds. To communicate with gods and ancestors, they needed to undertake dangerous spiritual journeys. Could this potion have been their key, their passport to other dimensions? By inducing this state of near death, a shaman could temporarily detach their spirit from their body, allowing them to traverse the cosmos, gain divine knowledge, or seek guidance from the spirit world. In this context, the potion isn't a weapon of death, but a sacred tool for exploration. The eternal sleep wasn't an end, but a beginning of a profound spiritual experience. This theory gains weight when we look at Mayan art. All over their temples and pottery, we see depictions of figures in contorted, trance-like postures, their eyes wide, seemingly gazing into another reality. We see images of shamans transforming into their spirit animals, or wayob, often jaguars or eagles. These transformations weren't just symbolic. The Maya believed they were literal. This potion, with its powerful psychoactive and paralytic effects, could have been the catalyst for these incredible visionary experiences, making the user feel as if they were truly becoming another being. Let's break down the science of it. The nightshade family contains alkaloids like atropine and scopolamine. These block certain neurotransmitters in the brain, leading to hallucinations, delirium, and a complete disconnection from reality. They also suppress bodily functions, causing dry mouth, dilated pupils, and a dangerously slowed heart rate. Now, add in the frog toxin. Many tropical frogs secrete bufotenin or similar compounds, which are powerful hallucinogens and also impact the cardiovascular system. The combination would be overwhelming. The user wouldn't just see things, they would be plunged into a state so profound it would be indistinguishable from death to an outside observer. The precision required to create such a mixture is astounding. Too much nightshade, and it's a straightforward, lethal poison. Too much frog toxin could cause immediate cardiac arrest. The Mayan chemists, or perhaps their shamans, must have possessed an incredibly sophisticated understanding of pharmacology. They knew exactly which plants to use, which frogs to find, and how to combine them in the perfect ratio to achieve this specific, death-like state. This wasn't just folklore. It was advanced science, developed through centuries of trial and error in the heart of the jungle. Their laboratory was the rainforest itself. This discovery completely changes our understanding of Mayan ritual practices. It shows that their connection to the spirit world wasn't just based on prayer and belief. It was actively and chemically induced. They had the technology to engineer altered states of consciousness, to deliberately walk the line between worlds. This little vial is a testament to their genius, a physical remnant of a practice that blended science, religion, and a deep, profound knowledge of the natural world. It proves that the ancient Maya were not just master astronomers and architects, but also master psychopharmacologists. The story of the Mayan potion of eternal sleep is a powerful reminder that the ancient world still holds so many secrets. A simple-looking object, buried for a millennium, can rewrite history and open up entirely new ways of thinking about a civilization we thought we knew. It challenges us to look beyond the stone pyramids and intricate calendars and into the minds of the people themselves. What other secrets are still out there, waiting in a forgotten tomb or a dense patch of jungle, ready to be discovered? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the mysteries of the Mayan civilization. If you found this as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the secrets of the past. And don't forget to ring the notification bell so you never miss an adventure. See you next time. Ever wondered if you could turn a simple rock into solid gold? Or brew a potion for eternal life? For centuries, this wasn't just a fantasy. It was a serious science called alchemy. Today, we're diving deep into one of its most fascinating and foundational experiments, the Greek Mercury experiments. This isn't just a story about ancient chemistry. It's a story about the human dream to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. The alchemists of ancient Greece weren't just mad scientists in dusty labs. They were philosophers, mystics, and pioneers of chemistry, all rolled into one. They believed the entire universe was made of a single primordial matter, the prima materia. Their grand quest, the magnum opus or great work, was to find this substance and use it to perfect everything, including themselves. This meant transmuting base metals like lead into noble metals like gold, and even creating the legendary Philosopher's Stone, an elixir said to grant immortality. At the heart of this quest were two seemingly simple yet incredibly powerful substances, mercury and sulfur. To the alchemists, these weren't just elements on a periodic table. They were cosmic principles. Mercury, which they called quicksilver, was the feminine principle. It was fluid, volatile, and represented the soul or the spirit. Think of its silvery, liquid form. It's alive, always moving, seemingly defying the rules of a normal metal. They saw it as the spirit of all metals. On the other hand, there was sulfur. This yellow, earthy substance was the masculine principle. It was fiery, combustible, and represented the fixed, tangible body. When it burns, it releases a powerful smell and intense energy. To the alchemists, sulfur was the very essence of fire and action, the physical anchor to Mercury's ethereal spirit. They believed that all metals were just different combinations of these two principles. Gold was the perfect balance, while a metal like lead was an imbalanced, sick combination. So what did they do? They decided to bring these two cosmic opposites together in a controlled environment. This is where the experiment truly begins. The alchemists would take pure mercury and pure sulfur and place them together in a sealed glass vessel called a retort, or an alembic. This wasn't just mixing chemicals. It was a sacred ritual. The vessel itself was seen as a microcosm of the universe, a womb where a new creation could be born. They would then begin to heat the vessel gently. This process was called digestion or coction. It wasn't about blasting it with high heat. It was a slow, patient process, often lasting for days or even weeks. The alchemists believed they were mimicking the natural processes of the earth, like a volcano creating minerals deep underground. They had to watch the fire constantly, keeping the temperature just right. Too hot, and the vessel might explode. Too cold, and the reaction would never start. This required incredible dedication. As the mixture was heated, something incredible started to happen. The silver mercury and yellow sulfur would begin to react. The alchemists would observe a series of color changes inside the vessel, which they called the sequence of colors. First, the mixture would turn black. This stage was known as nigredo, or blackness. It symbolized death, decay, and the dissolving of the old forms. It was the dark night of the soul, where the individual components lost their identity to become something new. It was a chaotic and often scary phase, but absolutely necessary for transformation. After the blackness, with continued gentle heating, a new color would emerge: white. This stage was called albedo, or whiteness. This represented purification, washing away the impurities of the black stage. It was like a rebirth, the dawn after the darkest night. The material inside the vessel was now considered purified and ready for the next step. It was a moment of great hope for the alchemist. Finally, after the white stage, came the one they had been waiting for. As the heat intensified slightly, the white substance would begin to transform again, this time into a brilliant, deep red. This was the rubedo, or redness, the grand finale. Inside the vessel, beautiful red crystals would form. This substance was known as cinnabar, or mercury sulfide. To the alchemists, this was not just a chemical compound. This was the philosopher's stone in its nascent form. It was proof that they had successfully united spirit, mercury, and body, sulfur, to create a new, perfected substance. The creation of these red crystals was a monumental achievement. For them, it confirmed their entire worldview. They had witnessed death, nigredo, resurrection, albedo, and final perfection, rubedo. They believed this red powder held immense power. It could supposedly transmute metals, heal all diseases, and bring the alchemist closer to spiritual enlightenment. The experiment wasn't just about changing matter, it was about changing the alchemist himself. The patience, dedication, and observation required for the experiment were a spiritual discipline. Now, let's look at this through the lens of modern chemistry. What was actually happening in that glass vessel? We now know this as one of the first recorded and controlled chemical synthesis reactions. When you heat mercury, Hg, and sulfur, S, they undergo a chemical reaction to form mercury 2 sulfide, HgS. This compound has two forms. The black form is called metacinnabar, which corresponds perfectly to the alchemist's nigredo stage. With further heating, this black metacinnabar rearranges its atomic structure to become the stable, red crystalline form, which is cinnabar. This is a direct match for their rubedo. So the alchemists were observing a real chemical transformation. They didn't have the language of atoms and molecules, so they described it using the rich symbolic language of myth and philosophy. Their spirit and body were our elements, and their alchemical marriage was our chemical reaction. They were pioneers, charting unknown territory with the tools and concepts available to them. The Greek mercury experiments laid the groundwork for centuries of chemical inquiry. While the dream of turning lead into gold remained elusive, the techniques they developed, distillation, sublimation, crystallization, and their meticulous observation and recording of changes became the bedrock of modern chemistry. The alembic, the retort, the bain-marie, or water bath, these were all tools perfected in the alchemical laboratory. So, the next time you see the symbol for medicine, the caduceus, with two snakes winding around a staff, remember its alchemical roots, representing the union of opposites, much like mercury and sulfur, The legacy of these ancient Greek experimenters is all around us. They taught us that with patience and focus, we can take two separate things and combine them to create something new, powerful, and beautiful. They may not have created literal gold, but they discovered something just as valuable: the power of transformation itself. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you're fascinated by the intersection of science, history, and mystery, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We have plenty more amazing stories to uncover together. Let me know in the comments what ancient mystery you'd like me to explore next. See you in the next video. Hello, and welcome back to the channel. Imagine stepping back in time over 3,000 years ago to the heart of Mesopotamia, the cradle of civilization. We're in ancient Babylon, a city of wonders, towering ziggurats, and bustling markets. But what happened when someone in this advanced society fell ill? When a high fever took hold, what did they do? They didn't have modern medicine, but they had something else: a deep, profound knowledge of the natural world, passed down through generations. Today, we're going to unravel the mystery of a Babylonian herb that could stop a fever in its tracks, a remedy so effective that its core component is still a cornerstone of medicine today. This isn't just a story, it's a piece of history etched into clay. Our journey begins with ancient cuneiform tablets, some of the world's oldest written records. Archaeologists and historians, painstakingly translating these intricate wedge-shaped marks, have uncovered a treasure trove of information about daily life in Babylon. Among legal codes and epic poems, they found something extraordinary: medical texts. These weren't just simple lists of ailments. They were detailed compendiums of diagnoses, prognoses, and, most importantly, treatments. They reveal a surprisingly sophisticated system of medicine, blending spiritual rituals with practical, plant-based remedies. One particular set of tablets, dating back to around 1500 BCE, caught the eye of researchers. They described a specific procedure for treating what we would now recognize as infections and high fevers. The instructions were clear. A particular plant was to be crushed into a paste and applied to the skin. The texts claimed this poultice would reduce fever, ease pain, and fight the sickness within the body. For centuries, the exact identity of this plant remained a topic of debate. The Babylonian name didn't directly translate to any known modern plant, leaving a tantalizing puzzle for botanists and historians alike. Was this just folklore, or had the Babylonians stumbled upon a genuine medical breakthrough? The breakthrough came when a team of Assyriologists at the University of Copenhagen, led by Dr. Troels Pank Arbol, decided to dive deeper. They weren't just content with translating the text. They wanted to bring this ancient remedy to life. Cross-referencing the descriptions on the tablets, the plant's appearance, where it grew, and its described effects, with botanical records of the region, they narrowed down the possibilities. Their prime suspect? The willow tree. The leaves and bark of the willow were known to grow along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, the lifeblood of Mesopotamian civilization. This was a plant that would have been readily available to any Babylonian healer. But the real aha moment came when they analyzed the chemical properties of willow bark. Modern science knows that willow bark is naturally rich in a compound called salicin. Does that name ring a bell? It should. When the human body metabolizes salicin, it converts it into salicylic acid, and salicylic acid is the primary active ingredient in one of the most common and effective medicines in the world, aspirin. The Babylonians, without any knowledge of chemistry or molecular biology, had discovered a natural source of aspirin over 3,000 years before it was first synthesized in a lab in the 19th century. Think about the implications of that. This wasn't a lucky guess. It was the result of generations of careful observation, of trial and error, of a deep connection with the natural world. The Babylonian healers, often seen as priests or magicians, were also keen scientists. They observed that applying a paste from this specific plant had a consistent, predictable effect. It brought down fevers, it relieved aches and pains. They recorded their findings meticulously on clay, ensuring this vital knowledge would be preserved. This ancient practice wasn't just some mystical ritual. It was evidence-based medicine in its earliest form. The Copenhagen research team decided to take their investigation one step further. They recreated the ancient recipe. Following the instructions on the cuneiform tablets, they prepared a poultice using willow bark and other ingredients mentioned in the texts, which likely included things like sesame oil or animal fats to create the paste. While they didn't apply it to a sick person, they analyzed the final product. Their analysis confirmed their hypothesis. The resulting paste contained significant amounts of salicylic acid, more than enough to have a therapeutic effect when absorbed through the skin. It would have acted as a powerful anti-inflammatory and fever-reducing agent. The ancient Babylonian cure for fever wasn't just a story, it was scientifically viable. This discovery does more than just solve an ancient puzzle. It completely reframes our understanding of the history of medicine. We often think of medicine as a modern invention, a product of sterile labs and white coats. But this shows us that the roots of pharmacology run much, much deeper. Ancient civilizations like the Babylonians, the Egyptians, and others across the globe were not just passively dealing with illness. They were actively innovating, experimenting, and developing effective treatments from the world around them. The pharmacy of the ancient world was the forest, the riverbank, and the field. This connection to nature is something we've arguably lost in the modern age. We reach for a pill bottle without a second thought, often forgetting that many of our most powerful medicines originated from plants. Digitalis for heart conditions comes from the foxglove plant. Quinine, a treatment for malaria, comes from the cinchona tree. And of course, aspirin from the willow tree. These ancient healers were the original ethnobotanists, and their knowledge, preserved on fragile clay tablets, is a testament to their genius. It reminds us that there is still so much we can learn from the past and from the natural world. The Babylonian fever remedy also highlights the incredible continuity of human knowledge. Imagine a Babylonian scribe carefully pressing wedge-shaped marks into wet clay, recording a treatment that would save lives in their community. They could never have imagined that thousands of years later, in a world they couldn't possibly conceive of, scientists would be reading their words and marveling at their wisdom. It's a powerful link that connects us directly to our ancient ancestors, showing us that our fundamental challenges, like fighting off a fever, and our quest for solutions have remained remarkably consistent throughout human history. This story is a beautiful intersection of history, archaeology, and science. It's a reminder that ancient texts are not just dusty relics. They are living documents that can still offer profound insights. And it's a tribute to the human spirit of inquiry, which has been driving us to understand and improve our world for millennia. The next time you take an aspirin for a headache, take a moment to think of those ancient Babylonian healers by the banks of the Euphrates crushing willow bark and unknowingly practicing a form of medicine that would endure for thousands of years. What an incredible journey back in time! It just goes to show you that there are still so many secrets waiting to be uncovered in the ancient world. Thank you so much for joining me today to explore the story of the Babylonian herb that stopped fever. If you found this as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next deep dive into history's forgotten wonders. Until next time, stay curious. Today, we're journeying back thousands of years to the land of the pharaohs, not to gaze at pyramids or decipher hieroglyphs, but to uncover a remarkable piece of ancient medical technology. We're talking about a potent, dark, and mysterious substance known as the Egyptian black salve. This wasn't just some herbal remedy. It was a powerful paste, a kind of primitive chemotherapy designed to combat some of the most serious ailments of the time, aggressive infections, and even tumors. Imagine being a physician in ancient Egypt. You don't have sterile operating rooms, you don't have antibiotics, and you certainly don't have modern oncology. Yet your patients are suffering from festering wounds, abscesses, and mysterious growths. What do? You turn to the knowledge passed down through generations, recorded on delicate papyrus scrolls. One of the most intriguing of these is the Edwin Smith Papyrus, the world's oldest surviving surgical document, dating back to around 1600 BC. This incredible text gives us a window into the surprisingly sophisticated world of Egyptian medicine, and it's here we find clues to our black salve. So, what was in this potent concoction? The recipe, pieced together from various texts and archaeological findings, points to 3 key ingredients: tar, honey, and copper salts. Now, at first glance, that might sound more like a recipe for sealing a boat than for treating a person. But let's break down the science behind this ancient wisdom, because each component was chosen for a very specific and powerful reason. Let's start with honey. We often think of it as a natural sweetener, but the Egyptians knew it was so much more. For millennia, honey has been recognized for its incredible antibacterial properties. It's hygroscopic, meaning it draws moisture out of the environment and out of bacteria, effectively dehydrating and killing them. It also has a naturally low pH and contains an enzyme that produces small amounts of hydrogen peroxide. Essentially, honey is a natural antiseptic dressing, perfect for preventing and treating infections in open wounds. It would have created a protective barrier, keeping germs out while helping the tissue underneath heal. Next, we have tar. This thick, black, sticky substance, often derived from heating wood or coal, might seem like a strange choice for a medical paste. However, tar, particularly wood tar, like pine tar, has its own set of medicinal virtues. It's a powerful astringent, which means it causes tissues to contract and helps to dry out a wound or a growth. More importantly, certain compounds in tar are what we call cytostatic or cytotoxic. This means they can inhibit the growth of cells, or in higher concentrations, kill them outright. The Egyptians observed that applying this substance could shrink or even destroy abnormal growths on the skin. They were, in a very real sense, targeting and destroying rogue cells. But the real kicker, the ingredient that elevates this from a simple ointment to a proto-chemotherapy, is the addition of copper salts. The Egyptians had access to minerals like malachite, a vibrant green copper carbonate ore. When ground up and mixed into the salve, these copper salts became a powerful agent. Copper ions are toxic to a wide range of microorganisms, from bacteria to fungi, making the salve a broad-spectrum antimicrobial powerhouse. But their effect on tumors is even more fascinating. Modern research has shown that copper compounds can induce something called apoptosis, or programmed cell death, in cancer cells. They disrupt the cell's internal machinery, causing them to self-destruct. The Egyptians wouldn't have known the terms apoptosis or cytotoxicity, but they could see the results with their own eyes. When they applied this paste, tumors would shrink, necrotize, meaning the tissue would die, and eventually fall off. So let's picture how this would have been used. A physician identifies a growth on a patient's skin. It might be what we'd now call a basal cell carcinoma, a melanoma, or simply a stubborn, infected ulcer. The physician would carefully prepare the black salve, grinding the copper minerals, warming the honey, and blending everything with the thick, dark tar. The resulting paste would be sticky, potent, and likely have a very strong, smoky smell. This salve would then be applied directly to the affected area. This is a crucial point. It was a topical treatment. The idea was to create a localized chemical reaction. The paste would be held in place with a linen bandage. Over the next few days, the magic, or rather the science, would begin to work. The honey would fight off any surface infection. The tar and copper salts would begin to penetrate the abnormal tissue. The area would likely become inflamed as the body's immune system reacted to the dying cells. The tumor or infected tissue would start to break down, turning black and hardening. This is why similar, though far more dangerous, modern concoctions are called escharotics, because they form a hard, dry scab called an eschar. After a period of time, this eschar, containing the dead tumor tissue, would slough off or be removed by the physician. What was left behind would be a clean, open wound, and this is where the genius of the formula shines again. The remaining honey in the area would continue to protect this new wound from infection, promoting the growth of healthy new tissue from the base up. It was a complete system. Destroy the bad, protect the good, and encourage healing. Of course, this was a primitive and aggressive treatment. It would have been painful. There was no local anesthetic. The process was caustic, meaning it burned tissue, and it was non-selective. While it attacked the tumor, it also damaged the healthy skin around it, leading to significant scarring. The dosage was also a matter of trial and error. Too little, and the tumor wouldn't be destroyed. Too much, and the damage to healthy tissue could be immense. But in a world without other options, facing a disfiguring growth or a life-threatening infection, this black salve offered a genuine chance at a cure. It was a brutal but effective tool in their medical arsenal. It's truly humbling to realize that thousands of years before the invention of the microscope, before we even knew what a cell was, ancient Egyptian physicians were practicing a form of targeted chemical therapy. They were keen observers of the natural world, understanding the properties of minerals, plants, and animal products. They used what they saw: honey preserving things, tar sealing them, and copper minerals changing them, and applied that knowledge to the human body in a logical, systematic way. This ancient black salve represents a bridge between magic and science. While their understanding was framed in a world of gods and spirits, their practice was rooted in empirical evidence, what we would today call results-based medicine. It worked, so they kept doing it, refining it, and teaching it to the next generation. It's a powerful reminder that the desire to heal, to fight disease, and to extend life is a fundamental part of the human story, stretching all the way back to the dawn of civilization. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the fascinating world of ancient Egyptian medicine. It just goes to show you that there are still so many secrets waiting to be uncovered in the past. If you enjoyed this journey, please hit that like button, subscribe for more adventures into history and science, and ring that notification bell so you never miss an update. Let me know in the comments what ancient technology you'd like to explore next. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video. Have you ever wondered if the ancient Egyptians held the secret to eternal life? For centuries, whispers and legends have swirled around the pharaohs and their supposed elixirs. But what if I told you there's a grain of scientific truth buried within these myths? A truth that lies hidden in a mysterious, glowing blue liquid. When archaeologists first cracked open the sealed tombs of the great pharaohs, they expected to find gold, jewels, and intricate artifacts. They found all that, of course, but they also discovered something far more intriguing: small, delicate vials containing the remnants of a vibrant blue substance. For decades, its purpose was a complete mystery. Was it a ritual offering, a sacred perfume, or was it something more? This substance is now known as Egyptian blue, and it's recognized as one of the world's first synthetic pigments. The Egyptians were master chemists. They figured out that by heating a precise mixture of sand, a copper source like malachite, and calcium carbonate, they could create this stunning, otherworldly blue. They used it to decorate everything from tomb walls and pottery to the iconic beard of Tutankhamun as burial mask. But its use in these small sealed vials suggested a purpose beyond simple decoration. Here's where the story takes a fascinating turn, bridging the gap between ancient magic and modern science. When contemporary chemists analyzed the residue in these vials, they confirmed the presence of Egyptian blue. But they also discovered something else. The liquid contained complex copper compounds. Now, in the modern world, we know that certain copper compounds have powerful antimicrobial and preservative properties. They can slow down the process of decay in organic tissues. Could it be that the Egyptians, through thousands of years of observation and experimentation, had stumbled upon a rudimentary form of embalming fluid or preservative elixir? They believed the pharaoh's journey to the afterlife was a physical one, and preserving the body was of utmost importance. The idea was that the soul, or Ka, needed to recognize its earthly vessel to return to it. So, anything that could slow down the natural process of decay would have been considered priceless, even divine. Let's imagine the scene. An ancient Egyptian priest in a dimly lit chamber, carefully decanting this glowing blue liquid. To them, it wasn't just chemistry. It was magic. The vibrant blue color itself was deeply symbolic, associated with the heavens, the life-giving waters of the Nile, and the gods. The fact that this liquid seemed to halt the inevitable march of time would have been seen as a direct gift from the divine, a true elixir. This wasn't just a substance, it was a symbol of hope against mortality. The pharaohs, seen as gods on earth, would be armed with this celestial blue liquid to aid their journey and ensure their bodies remained intact for their triumphant return in the afterlife. It was a fusion of spiritual belief and practical science. They didn't have the language of antimicrobial properties, but they understood the result: preservation. What's even more mind-blowing is the modern legacy of Egyptian blue. Scientists today are exploring its unique properties for cutting-edge technology. When Egyptian blue is exposed to certain light, it emits radiation in the near-infrared range. This makes it incredibly useful for modern biomedical imaging. It can be used as a non-toxic contrast agent to see tissues deep inside the body, helping doctors diagnose illnesses without invasive procedures. Think about that for a second. A substance created over 4,500 years ago to preserve the bodies of pharaohs for the afterlife is now being used to help preserve the lives of people in the 21st century. The same chemical compound that guarded the dead is now helping to heal the living. The elixir of life has been reborn in a way the ancient Egyptians could never have possibly imagined. It is a powerful reminder that the line between ancient wisdom and modern innovation is often blurrier than we think. The Egyptians weren't just building pyramids. They were laying the groundwork for future scientific discovery. Their quest for immortality didn't lead to a magical potion that lets you live forever, but it did create a substance whose legacy is, in its own way, eternal. It connects the tomb of a pharaoh to a modern hospital, linking the past and the future in a brilliant shade of blue. The next time you see that iconic color in a museum, remember it's more than just a pretty pigment. It's a testament to human ingenuity, a bridge across millennia, and a real-life echo of the mythical elixir of life. The pharaohs may be long gone, but their blue magic is still very much with us. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. If you found this as fascinating as I did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the amazing secrets of the ancient world. See you next time. Picture this: the heat of an ancient Greek battlefield. Soldiers clash, swords ring, and the air is thick with the cries of battle. A warrior goes down, a deep gash on his arm. In the chaos, you'd expect the worst. But then a medic rushes over, not with bandages, but with a small pouch of a mysterious white powder. He mixes it with a little water, applies the paste to the wound, and in moments the bleeding stops. The cut is sealed, almost as if by magic. This isn't a scene from a fantasy movie. Archaeologists, digging through the remnants of ancient Greece, have reportedly unearthed evidence of just such a substance. A fine, white powder that, when hydrated, seems to possess incredible healing properties. Imagine a material that could seal a wound faster and more effectively than our modern sutures. It sounds like something from science fiction, but the past, it seems, still holds some incredible secrets. So, what was this miraculous powder? How did it work? And why did this seemingly revolutionary medical technology vanish from history? Today, we're diving deep into the mystery of this ancient Greek healing powder, separating fact from fiction and exploring the incredible ingenuity of ancient medicine. Let's start with what we know. The accounts describe a mineral-based substance. Ancient civilizations, including the Greeks and Romans, were masters of using what nature provided. They knew the properties of various clays, minerals, and plants. One of the leading theories points towards a specific type of clay mineral, possibly a form of kaolinite or bentonite. These aren't just ordinary clays. They have a unique molecular structure. Think of them like tiny, ultra-absorbent sponges. When you mix them with a liquid, like water or blood, they can expand rapidly. This process, known as hemostasis, is crucial for stopping bleeding. The clay particles are also often negatively charged, which attracts the positively charged platelets in our blood. This creates a sort of magnetic pull, drawing the platelets to the wound site and encouraging them to clump together to form a clot, a natural plug. So, when this ancient powder was applied to a wound, it would have instantly started soaking up the blood and pulling platelets into the gash, forming a rapid, robust seal. This isn't just theory. Modern medicine has actually rediscovered this principle. Today, some of the most advanced hemostatic agents used by military medics and in emergency rooms are based on these very same mineral clays, like zeolite and kaolin. It's a fascinating case of modern science catching up to ancient wisdom. But was it just clay? Probably not. The ancient Greeks were also brilliant botanists. They had an extensive knowledge of medicinal herbs. It's highly likely this miracle powder was a carefully crafted compound. They might have added powdered antibacterial and anti-inflammatory herbs. Think of things like yarrow, which was famously known as herba militaris, or the military herb, for its ability to stop bleeding. Or perhaps they included antiseptic agents like pine resin or honey, both of which were widely used for their ability to prevent infection. This combination would have been a medical powerhouse. The clay would provide the physical barrier, stopping the bleeding in its tracks, while the herbs would go to work fighting off bacteria and reducing swelling. This two-pronged attack would not only save a soldier's life on the battlefield, but also dramatically increase their chances of a full recovery, preventing the deadly infections that were often more dangerous than the initial injury itself. Think about the sheer advantage this would give an army. In an era where a simple cut could lead to a fatal infection, having a reliable way to treat wounds instantly on the battlefield would be a game-changer. It would boost morale, get soldiers back into the fight faster, and save countless lives. This wasn't just medicine. It was a strategic military asset, a secret weapon hidden in a simple pouch of powder. So, if this technology was so effective, why did we lose it? Why did we spend centuries stitching people up with needles and thread when a better solution seemingly already existed? The answer, like so much of history, is complex. One major factor was the fall of the great empires. When the Roman Empire collapsed, much of its centralized knowledge was shattered and lost. The great library of Alexandria, a vast repository of ancient wisdom, was destroyed. Medical texts were burned, skilled physicians were scattered, and the intricate supply chains that brought specific minerals and herbs from across the known world were broken. The knowledge didn't just disappear overnight, it eroded. It was passed down orally, becoming distorted and incomplete with each generation, like a game of historical telephone. What was once a precise scientific formula may have devolved into folk remedies and superstitions. Furthermore, medicine itself changed. During the Middle Ages, medical practice in Europe often shifted away from the empirical, observation-based methods of the Greeks. The focus sometimes leaned more towards theory and tradition rather than practical application and innovation. The precise, scientific compounding of a substance like the healing powder may have been seen as less important than balancing humors or other prevailing medical doctrines of the time. Essentially, the recipe was lost. The specific mineral, the exact combination of herbs, the precise ratios, this was highly specialized knowledge. Without the written texts and the institutional memory to preserve it, the secret simply faded away. It became another legend, a whisper of the good old days when healers could perform miracles. And that brings us back to today. The rediscovery of these principles is incredibly exciting. Researchers are now actively studying ancient medical texts and analyzing archaeological findings to reverse engineer these lost technologies. By combining ancient history with modern chemistry and material science, we're unlocking secrets that have been buried for millennia. Modern hemostatic agents, like the ones you find in advanced first aid kits, are a direct descendant of this ancient idea. They use a refined, purified version of these mineral clays, often packaged in a way that's easy for a soldier or first responder to apply under extreme pressure. They are saving lives on battlefields, in car accidents, and in operating rooms around the world. So, the next time you hear about a cutting-edge medical breakthrough, remember that sometimes the most futuristic ideas have the deepest roots. The story of the Greek healing powder is a powerful reminder that the ancients were not primitive. They were innovators, scientists, and pioneers whose ingenuity continues to inspire and save lives even today. The past isn't just a collection of stories. It's a library of forgotten solutions waiting to be rediscovered. What other lost technologies might be out there, waiting for us to find them? It's a tantalizing question. The history of medicine is full of these fascinating mysteries, and it shows us just how much we can learn from looking back. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you found this as fascinating as I do, please hit that like button and subscribe for more deep dives into history's forgotten secrets. Don't forget to ring the bell so you won't miss our next adventure. See you in the next video. Ever wondered how ancient civilizations without modern medicine managed to stay healthy? What if I told you the Roman elite had a secret health hack, a silver drink, that they didn't even fully understand? It's a fascinating story of accidental chemistry that gave them a powerful advantage. Imagine this: you're a wealthy Roman patrician, lounging in your lavish villa. You're not drinking water from a clay pot like the common folk. No, you're sipping from a stunning, ornate silver cup. And what's in that cup? Not just water, but posca, a popular Roman drink made from vinegar diluted with water. It sounds a bit strange to us, but for them, it was the Gatorade of its time. But here's where the magic happens. The acidic vinegar reacted with the silver of the cup. Tiny, microscopic particles of silver would leach into the drink. Without knowing it, these Romans were creating what we now call colloidal silver. They were essentially microdosing a powerful, natural antibacterial agent every time they took a sip. So, why was this so important? In a world without antibiotics, even a small cut or contaminated meal could be a death sentence. Dysentery, food poisoning, and various infections were rampant. While the general population suffered, the elite, with their silver cups, had an invisible shield. The silver particles in their posca would have worked to neutralize harmful bacteria and pathogens in their digestive systems. This wasn't some intentional medical breakthrough. It was a status symbol that came with an incredible, life-saving side effect. Their preference for luxury, for the glimmer and prestige of silver, accidentally became one of the most effective public health measures of the ancient world, but only for the very rich. They thought they were just displaying their wealth, but they were actually participating in a grand, centuries-long scientific experiment. Think about the Roman legions, marching across continents. Historical records show that Roman commanders often encouraged their soldiers to drink posca. While most soldiers would have drunk from cheaper vessels, the officers and elite soldiers likely used silver. This could have contributed to the overall health and resilience of the Roman army, giving them an edge in their campaigns. A healthier army is a stronger army, and this simple practice might have played a subtle but crucial role in their military dominance. Now, let's fast forward a couple of thousand years. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, before the discovery of penicillin, colloidal silver was a go-to remedy for doctors. It was used to treat infections, purify water, and was even used in wound dressings. It seems modern science finally caught up with what the Romans had stumbled upon by pure chance. They rediscovered the powerful antimicrobial properties of silver that the ancient elite had been benefiting from all along. Isn't it incredible how history works? A simple choice driven by vanity and social status led to a significant health advantage. The Romans didn't have microscopes or a knowledge of germ theory. They just knew that the rich, who drank from silver, seemed to fare better than the poor. They probably attributed it to the favor of the gods or superior bloodlines, never suspecting the secret lay in the chemistry happening right inside their cups. This story also highlights the stark social divisions of the Roman world. Access to health wasn't just about having a doctor, it was embedded in the very objects of daily life. A silver cup wasn't just a cup, it was a ticket to a healthier, longer life, a privilege the vast majority of the population could never afford. The common person, drinking from pottery or wood, was far more vulnerable to the invisible dangers lurking in their food and water. Today, we understand the science behind it. We know that silver ions can disrupt the cellular processes of bacteria, effectively destroying them. It's a principle we still use in modern medicine, in things like silver-infused bandages and certain water purification systems. It's a testament to the enduring power of this remarkable metal. So, the next time you see a depiction of a Roman banquet in a movie, pay close attention to the cups. That gleaming silver goblet isn't just a prop. It's a symbol of an ancient secret. A secret to health and survival, hidden in plain sight, a happy accident of history that gave the Roman elite an edge they never even knew they had. It's a perfect example of how sometimes the most significant discoveries are made not in a lab, but by pure, glorious chance. Thank you so much for joining me on this dive into ancient history and accidental science. If you found this as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the past. Let me know in the comments what other historical secrets you'd like to uncover. See you next time. Today, we're diving deep into the opulent and mysterious world of ancient China, uncovering a secret that has been whispered through the halls of forbidden palaces for centuries. We're talking about an elixir so precious, so legendary, that it was reserved only for the Son of Heaven himself, the Emperor. This is the story of the Chinese liquid gold formula. Imagine being an emperor in ancient China. You have absolute power, unimaginable wealth, and a vast empire at your command. But there's one thing that even the most powerful ruler cannot conquer: time. Mortality is the great equalizer. Or is it? For centuries, the most brilliant minds in the empire, alchemists, physicians, and mystics, were tasked with a single monumental goal: to discover the secret to immortality. And they believed they found it, not in a mythical fountain of youth, but in the very elements that symbolized purity, power, and eternity: gold and pearls. This wasn't just a simple drink. It was a complex alchemical preparation, a legendary mixture of gold and pearl dust believed to grant longevity and even eternal life. They called it liquid gold, and it was a closely guarded secret of the imperial court. The idea might sound fantastical to us now, like something straight out of a fantasy novel. But to the people of that era, it was the cutting edge of science and spirituality. Gold, with its incorruptible nature, was seen as a symbol of permanence and divinity. Pearls, born from the sea, were symbols of purity, spiritual energy, and healing. The thinking was, if you could ingest the essence of these eternal substances, perhaps you could imbue your own body with their everlasting properties. The process of creating this elixir was anything but simple. We're not talking about just grinding up a gold necklace and some pearls into a cup of tea. This was the pinnacle of ancient alchemy. The texts describe incredibly sophisticated methods to break down these materials into a drinkable, bioavailable form. They would use complex heating processes, specialized solvents, and mystical incantations, all aimed at transforming solid gold and pearl into a potent, life-extending potion. The alchemists believed that through this transformation, they weren't just creating a mixture, they were unlocking the very life force, the QE, of the elements themselves. Now, here's where history takes a fascinating turn and meets modern science. For a long time, historians and scientists dismissed these tales as pure mythology. Drinking gold? It sounds like a recipe for heavy metal poisoning, not eternal life. And in many cases, it probably was. Early attempts at alchemy often involved toxic substances like mercury and arsenic, which tragically shortened the lives of many aspiring immortals, including some emperors. It was a dangerous game of trial and error, but recent scientific analysis of ancient alchemical recipes and artifacts has revealed something astonishing. When researchers recreated these ancient formulas under laboratory conditions, they discovered that some of the more advanced techniques could actually produce real nano-gold particles. That's right, nanotechnology, thousands of years before we had a name for it. These are microscopic particles of gold, so small that they can be suspended in a liquid and potentially interact with the body on a cellular level. This is a game changer. Suddenly, the liquid gold formula doesn't seem so far-fetched. Modern medicine is currently exploring the use of gold nanoparticles for a variety of applications, from targeted drug delivery to medical imaging and even treating certain diseases. These tiny particles have unique properties that make them incredibly useful. So, were these ancient Chinese alchemists accidental pioneers of nanotechnology? Did they stumble upon a process that could genuinely create a substance with unique biological properties? Let's break down the components. Nanogold is being studied today for its potential anti-inflammatory and antioxidant properties. Inflammation and oxidative stress are two of the key drivers of aging. So, a substance that could combat both might, in theory, help slow down the aging process and promote overall health. It's a fascinating what if. Could this ancient formula have actually had some real, tangible health benefits that made people feel younger and more vital? And what about the pearl dust? Pearl dust has been a staple in traditional Chinese medicine for millennia and is still used today. It's rich in calcium, magnesium, amino acids, and a host of trace minerals. It's often used to calm the spirit, brighten the skin, and support bone health. When you combine the potential properties of nanogold with the documented mineral and amino acid content of pearl powder, you get a formula that, at the very least, sounds like a powerful ancient super supplement. It wasn't just mystical belief. It was a compound designed with the best knowledge of the time to nourish and preserve the body. Of course, we have to be realistic. This was no miracle cure for death. The emperors who drank it still passed away. But the legend of the liquid gold formula speaks to a universal human desire, the quest to live longer, healthier, and better lives. It represents the very peak of ancient knowledge, a fusion of material science, medicine, and spiritual belief. It shows us that our ancestors were not just superstitious people, but also keen observers and relentless experimenters, pushing the boundaries of what was known. The story of this elixir is a bridge connecting the ancient past with the cutting edge of future science. The quest that began in the secret workshops of Chinese alchemists continues today in state-of-the-art nanotech labs around the world. We are still fascinated by the potential of gold at the nanoscale, just as they were. They were searching for immortality in a golden cup. We are searching for new cures and better health in a test tube. It's a powerful reminder that sometimes the most futuristic ideas have the most ancient roots. The pursuit of longevity is a timeless human endeavor, and the Chinese liquid gold formula is one of its most glamorous and mysterious chapters. What other ancient secrets are waiting to be rediscovered by modern science? What can these old texts still teach us? Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. I hope you found it as fascinating as I did. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button, and don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you won't miss our next deep dive into history's greatest mysteries. Let me know in the comments what you think about this ancient formula. Until next time, stay curious. Did you know that one of the most luxurious perfumes in ancient history was also a powerful weapon against germs? It sounds like something out of a fantasy novel, but it's a fascinating piece of our past. Today, we're journeying back to ancient Persia to uncover the story of a fragrance that was much more than just a pretty scent. Imagine the bustling markets of the ancient Persian Empire, filled with exotic spices, vibrant textiles, and the alluring aroma of perfumes. Perfumery was an art form, a symbol of status, and a deep-seated part of their culture. The Persians were masters of scent, developing sophisticated techniques to extract the essence of flowers, woods, and resins. But among all their creations, one stood out not just for its fragrance, but for a hidden, life-saving property. Archaeologists have unearthed beautiful, delicate glass flasks from this era. For years, we admired them for their craftsmanship, but the real treasure was the residue left inside. When scientists analyzed this ancient substance, they made a groundbreaking discovery. It wasn't just perfume. It was a mixture of fragrant rose oil and something completely unexpected for that time: alcohol. This is a huge deal. What they found was essentially the earliest recorded antiseptic solution in human history. Long before modern medicine understood the existence of germs, the Persians had stumbled upon a formula that could kill them. The alcohol, produced through their advanced knowledge of distillation, acted as a disinfectant, while the rose oil provided a beautiful, calming scent. Think about the implications of this. In a time when a simple cut could lead to a fatal infection, this perfume was a form of primitive medicine. It wasn't just used to smell good. It was likely applied to wounds to clean them and prevent infection. It was a fragrant shield against the unseen dangers of the microbial world. This combination of beauty and function is a testament to the incredible ingenuity of ancient cultures. The process itself was a marvel. The Persians had perfected distillation, a technique of separating substances through heating and cooling. They would distill wine to create a potent alcohol, a practice many historians believed came much later. Then they would use another advanced technique, likely steam distillation, to extract the precious essential oil from damask roses, which are still famous today for their intense fragrance. By blending the distilled alcohol with the concentrated rose oil, they created a stable, long-lasting product. The alcohol acted as a solvent and a preservative, keeping the delicate rose scent pure while adding its own cleansing power. This was a sophisticated piece of chemistry, happening thousands of years ago. It shows that ancient people weren't just mixing things together randomly. They were observing, experimenting, and refining their methods over generations. So, why was this knowledge seemingly lost or not widely known? It's possible that it was a closely guarded secret of elite perfumers or physicians. Or perhaps, as empires rose and fell, this specific knowledge was simply not passed down as widely as other technologies. The fall of the Persian Empire and the subsequent turmoil in the region could have led to the loss of many such advanced practices. What's truly amazing is that this discovery bridges the gap between what we consider luxury and what we see as medicine. Today, we separate these two worlds. You have your perfume on one shelf and your antiseptic wipes on another. But for the ancient Persians, they could be one and the same. It is a holistic approach that we are only just beginning to appreciate again in the modern world, with the rise of aromatherapy and the use of essential oils for their therapeutic properties. This ancient rose and alcohol blend was more than just a liquid in a flask. It was a symbol of innovation, a fusion of art and science, and a life-saving tool hidden in plain sight. It reminds us that ancient civilizations were far more advanced than we often give them credit for. They were keen observers of the natural world, and their discoveries laid the groundwork for many of the scientific principles we rely on today. Next time you smell a rose or use a hand sanitizer, take a moment to think of the ancient Persian masters who, thousands of years ago, had already figured out how to bring the best of both worlds together. Their fragrant legacy is a beautiful reminder that sometimes the most effective solutions are found where science and nature meet. Thank you so much for joining me on this aromatic journey through history. If you found this as fascinating as I did, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from our incredible past. Don't forget to ring the bell so you won't miss our next video. See you next time.